SFUSD, that's the place to be. SFUSD, bienvenidos a Tijuana. SFUSD, everyone come and see. SFUSD, join our family. S is for students, F for families too. U is for united, talking about me and you. S for solidarity, D is for diversity. SFUSD.
Hola científicos, happy Friday! Have you had a great week? That's great, me too. I really enjoyed our scientist interview yesterday. I really like that Isaiah is a scientist that helps take care of animals and helps other people. I really appreciate the work that he and the other scientists do for our San Francisco community. He taught us a bit about the frog habitat that he restored, and it reminds me that we need to finish observing some of our San Francisco habitats. So, based on our subtitles that we wrote ahead of time, we still have to study oak woodlands and the Pacific Ocean, specifically by the Farallon Islands. Do you have your notebooks ready for note-taking? All right, take a moment to go get it. I'll reread our notes from yesterday while you get your notebook. So we have plant habitats. Sand dunes. Plants have waxy leaves or are succulents. Animals can camouflage in the sand. And then in the wetlands, they have fresh water and salt water and lots of grass. All right, now I remember. So, muy bien. Let's observe the photo that we have of oak woodlands in the Golden Gate Park. What do you notice? There are a lot of trees, and those are oak trees, and it does look a bit dry. Apparently, these oak trees are called coast live oaks, and they actually provide food for many birds and squirrels. We should actually stop to write that note. Let me think. They have coast live oaks, which makes food for animals. What do you think of that sentence? I'm glad you like it. Let's copy it down. They have coast live oak, which provide food for animals. Okay. You know what else was interesting? Last year, together, we learned about the Ohlone people, and they're the indigenous people that have been living here for a long time. Well, they used to use these oak trees for a lot of things, like making bowls, dyes, and even using some parts of the tree for stomach issues. Wow, oak trees sound really important for meeting the needs of living things. Let's write that note down. Ohlone people use them to meet their needs. Yeah? Wow, these trees are essential to a lot of lives. I'm glad that they're protected in the Golden Gate Park. Well, we should move on to our final habitat. We also need to review all of our learning. So vamos, let's observe this image of the Farallon Islands, which are in the Pacific Ocean. Did you notice that the islands don't have any human habitats? I thought that was interesting. It makes me think that it's not a place that would meet our needs. Apparently though, these islands have one of the biggest populations of great white sharks. Ooh, how scary! But they stay around here because there are 36 different kinds of marine mammals that live there, including their favorite ones, seals and sea lions. It seems like the sharks can always find food here. Oh, we should note that, científicos. Sharks get plenty of food here. And we're gonna make it blue for the Pacific Ocean. So, I also read that the waters by the islands contain a lot of nutrients. So the islands also get a lot of birds and many underwater creatures. Shrimp, krill, turtles, and whales can be found all over these islands. This habitat sounds very rich and healthy. Maybe we could know many animals live there because of the water? Okay. So we learned a lot. We learned a lot with our notes, but let's reread them to make sure we review our learning and see if we can answer our question. So today we added oak woodlands. They have coast live oak, which provide food for animals. Ohlone people use them to meet their needs. Sharks get plenty of food here. Oh, we moved on to Pacific Ocean. Sorry, scientists. Many animals live there because of the water. Okay, so what do you think, scientists? How do these notes from our work from Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday help us? How do habitats help living things meet their needs? Yes, many of the animals were able to eat other animals or plants in their habitats. They were able to get water from that. We saw that in the wetlands and the islands. Muy bien. Some were able to use defenses based on colors. Yes, and they were able to get clean air where they lived too. But what happens when your habitat doesn't meet your needs? Think of the monarchs. Eso, yes, that. You can move to a new habitat or migrate. What else can you do? Think about our interview with the scientist Isaiah. Yes, the habitat can be modified, or if they need it, they can be restored. It sounds like we have made conclusions. Let's write it down. We need to write today's date, page number, and our title, habitat conclusion. Let's get started. I don't think it's the 26th. Oh, I could just close it. There we go. February 26th, 2021. All right, bueno, let's answer our question. So we said habitats provide living things with food, water, air, and sometimes defenses. Let's write that. Habitats provide for living things with air, water, food, and sometimes defenses. Great job. And if they don't, living things can migrate to a new habitat or change their habitats. We should write that conclusion too. All right, scientists, did you realize that everything we learned this month about living things set us up for this conclusion? Some of you did make that connection. At the beginning of the month, we learned about living and non-living things. And then we learned about their needs and how they meet them. After that, we learned about how they survive and protect those needs by using defenses. This all led to our learning this week about habitats. Habitats need to make sure that all those needs are present. That way, living things can survive and thrive. Thrive means to grow or develop well, or to have a good life. Even though we are finished studying this together, it doesn't mean that your learning has to end here. I want to ask you one more question before we close out. What do us humans need to do to survive and thrive? It's okay if you don't know quite yet, but I want you to think about it. Científicos, I hope you enjoy the rest of the show and have a wonderful weekend. Nos vemos el lunes. See you Monday.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Mansfield, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Today, we're going to sing all about an amazing African-American woman named Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was a brilliant mathematician. That means someone who is an expert at math. She taught math for many years and helped NASA send astronauts into space by calculating really complicated math problems. Let's celebrate her life by singing my song, Katherine Johnson Loved to Count. Katherine was curious, brilliant, and eager to learn. Let's count to 10 like Catherine. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Katherine Johnson loved to count. She studied geometry, the math of shapes. She graduated college at 18. So let's all count another 8, starting after 10. Ready? Here we go. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Good job. Katherine Johnson loved to count. She applied for NASA at 34. She made calculations as a human computer. Can we count another 16 more? Starting after 18. Ready? Here we go. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Whew! Katherine Johnson loved to count. She sent people to space with their ones and zeros. People trusted her math more than machines, but for years she was a hidden hero. That means very few people knew about her contributions. Katherine Johnson loved to count. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. A year ago she passed away. Let's count her age of 101. Counting by tens. Good luck, everyone. Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 101. Katherine Johnson loved to count. She sent people to space with their ones and zeros. People trusted her math more than machines. Katherine Johnson, our space hero. Thank you so much for helping me sing and count. Katherine Johnson started out as just a little girl who loved to count, but she ended up being an amazing person who sent people into space. If you want, you could be just like Katherine Johnson too. Until next time, stay safe, healthy, and happy, and of course, goodbye everyone!
Hello, my name is Erica Burrell, and if you were a student, you will call me Mrs. Burrell, and I am the author and illustrator of this children's book, What Would the World Be Without Black People? Happy Black History Month. Let's read. Timothy walked into class angry. Mrs. Burrell looked at Timothy and asked, Timothy, why are you upset? Latifah took too long and I didn't get to swing today. I hate black people and wish they were never born. Hate? Mrs. Burrell looked at Timothy confused. You do know I'm black, right? Do you hate me? Timothy responded, well, most black people anyways, he said under his breath. Why do we need them? Well, Timothy, Mrs. Burrell said, I am glad you asked. Let's take a look at what life would be like without black people. Uh-oh. Starting tomorrow, you will wake up and your life will look different. You will get your wish to live in a world with no black people. Timothy left that Friday afternoon excited. Good, my life will be much better without those people. Timothy went home and finished his evening as usual. A bath, quick dinner, video games, and sleep. He went to sleep excited to wake up to no black people ever existing. Timothy woke up the next morning ready to get his day started. He turned on his iPod to play his favorite rapper, Tupac. He kept pushing play and nothing came on. The knowledge fairy flew into Timothy's room and said, Timothy, Tupac is a black man. You're in a world with no black people, remember? Well, then why are you here? Timothy said angrily. I'm not a black person. I am a black fairy, a magical black fairy. My name is Knowledge Fairy, and every time you go to interact with something related to black people, I will make sure you are unable to. Not only was there no Tupac, Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, and other artists he loved, there was no hip-hop or rap music at all. DJ Kool Herc, a black man, was responsible for the hip-hop evolution you love today, said Knowledge Fairy with a smile. I don't care, Timothy shrugged. I'll just listen to something else. As he went to different genres in his iPod, everything was gone. No music for Timothy. Timothy Knowledge Fairy continued, rock and roll began with Chuck Berry, a black man in 1955, and Cab Calloway was one of the first R&B artists in the 1940s. Just so you know, reggae and pop music, okay, Timothy interrupted. I get it. I basically can't listen to any of the music I like. He is having a hard day. Timothy started to do his chores so that he can go to the mall with his friends. When it was time to mop, Timothy looked around puzzled. Knowledge Fairy popped up and said, Tim, you're going to have to scrub the floor on your hands and knees. The mop was invented by a black man named Thomas W. Stewart in 1893. Frustrated, Timothy scrubbed the floors and got dressed. When it was time for him to put on his shoes, he noticed his shoe rack was empty. Oh man, Timothy said, annoyed. I only had Jordan sneakers, and those were made by a black man too. Timothy put on his dad's shoes, which were too big, and asked his dad for a ride to the mall. Oh, Timothy, Knowledge Fairy sang as she flew into the room. Your dad owns an automatic car. The automatic gear shift was created by a black man named Richard Spikes in 1932. But, nice shoes. Well, I'll just take the bus. Not quite, honey, Knowledge Fairy replied. The bus also uses a gear shift, plus it would not be safe because the black inventor Garrett Morgan is responsible for the contributions that made the traffic light we know today. You're going to have to walk. Timothy walked 30 blocks to the mall with no music. He started to realize life without black people felt empty and cruel. When Timothy finally got to the mall, he didn't see the usual elevator. Up popped the fairy, who said, I think you have to take the stairs. Timothy looked at the fairy in disbelief. Alexander Miles in 1887 created the automatic opening doors we use for the elevators, and he was black. The game store is on the 22nd floor, Timothy whined. Well, you had better start walking. Timothy was so exhausted he decided to stop on the 12th floor for a hot dog and realized most of the food court was empty. Hey, where's all the food? Timothy asked out loud. And it says, out of food, drinks only, no food. He is struggling. Most food delivery comes from a refrigerated truck. That was invented by Frederick McKinley Jones, another black man around 1938. Would you like a bottle of water? Timothy sat down and drank his water before continuing up the stairs to the game store. When he finally arrived, he only saw one friend. Hey, Jeff, where is Paul, Tyrell, Lauren? Jeff looked at Timothy confused. Who? Jeff questioned. Knowledge Fairy sprinkled her dust and chimed. Timothy, those other friends of yours were all black, so you can't see them anymore. Timothy was overwhelmed with sadness. What have I done? He asked himself. He continued wandering around the store looking for a video game. The one he wanted was sold out. He started to ask the cashier to order the game, but then heard the fairy whisper, actually, he can't order it for you. A black man named Philip B. Downing invented the modern-day mailbox in 1891. No video games, no friends, no food because there was no refrigerated truck. Timothy is having a hard weekend, don't you think? Timothy walked the 30 blocks back home and thought about all the things he loved. Cool dances, television shows, foods, clothes, and music. There were so many elements of Black culture that he took for granted. Timothy got home and noticed everything was destroyed. He asked the police officer, "What happened to my house?" Before the officer could respond, Knowledge Fairy flew over Timothy and stated, Osborne Dorsey, a Black man, invented the doorknob in 1878, and Marie Van Britten Brown, a Black woman, invented the first home security system in 1966. I am afraid because you could not use those inventions, your house was robbed. Wow. Having no bed because of the robbery, Timothy slept on the floor that night and decided not to do anything until Monday morning. He ran into school Monday yelling, "Mrs. Burrell, I know you're Black. Please come back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Mrs. Burrell appeared in her bright yellow dress. She looked at Timothy and said, "You know, everything about who you are would be different if it weren't for the contributions of Black people. Everybody who has a body is somebody. Timothy, I hope you learned a valuable lesson." Mrs. Burrell turned to the class and said, "Okay, scholars, get out your notebooks. Today, class, we will learn about Black creators." The end.
Peace everyone, kumusta na? It's Miss Sam May from SFLA Dance in Schools and Communities program. I hope you all have been taking great care and are ready to get your bodies moving and grooving. Since it's very much still Black History Month, and by now you know Black history should be celebrated not just in February but every day. I want to share with you the movement style that comes from Black culture that inspired me to believe that I could be a dancer. Can you guess what it is? That's right, it's hip hop. So what do you all know about hip hop? Follow me as we converse. Finding our groove there, just like that. So hip hop was founded by Black and brown youth in the Bronx in New York City in the 1970s. Now you all have been learning about habitats, right? How living things depend on each other to live and grow. That living things can modify their habitat when their needs aren't met, right? Right. Like when plants don't have enough space and can't get the resources, the sunlight and water they need to grow. Yep, having too little or having too much influences everyone's needs and access to the resources they need to live and thrive. Now imagine these Black and brown youth just like you, are like seeds that are just trying to grow as they are meant to, right? But their habitat doesn't have the proper resources they need to live. They have less resources than the other habitats that are not too far away. Resources like housing, food, education, health services. I mean, how do you imagine these seeds felt? You're right. They were frustrated and angry, and they needed a way to express that. They wanted their habitat to change and sought to change it themselves. Now, what do you imagine they did to modify their habitat, their conditions, their living situation? These Black and brown youth started a movement with their movement. Hip hop dance and culture became a habitat for them to feel seen, to express their emotions through creativity, and to even build community. They had to seek out the resources they needed to create a new habitat, to create something where they could live and thrive through. They created hip hop. And so these days you find hip hop throughout the globe. And it's more than dance. It's also DJing, rapping, graffiti, and exchange of knowledge. The culture that was created from Black and Latino communities from the Bronx borough of New York City has inspired the world. And most importantly, continues to shed light on the imbalances and inequities Black and brown communities continue to face. And so because hip hop is more than dance, I invite you all to think about how can we all have the resources we need in our respective habitats to thrive? How can we all bloom into the beautiful flowers we are meant to? In the words of the late rapper Tupac, long live the rose that grew from the concrete when no one else even cared. Happy Black History Month now and always. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. We just explored how you can think critically and take action on things important to you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your program and have a great weekend ahead. Take care. Ingat.
Hello, I'm Superintendent Dr. Vincent Matthews of the San Francisco Unified School District. It made me so happy to spend time with you today. I hope you had fun too. And now it's time to say goodbye. So let's sing our goodbye song. For this song, you have to use your whole body. Will you sing it with me? Are you ready? Wave high, wave low. For now, it's time to go. Wave your elbows, wave your toes, wave your tongue, and wave your nose. Wave your knees, wave your lips, blow a kiss with your fingertips. Wave your ears, wave your hair, wave your belly, and wave your derriere. Wave your chin, wave your eye. For now it's time to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
SFUSD, that's the place to be. SFUSD, bienvenidos a Tijuana. SFUSD, everyone come and see. SFUSD, join our family.